Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei was raised his uncle Great Red after his parents' death part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the DEATHWISH911 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. Let's start this video. He looked out the window and saw his old house, and like someone not wanting to leave the safe security of a warm place, he got out of the cab and took his luggage from the trunk. Home sweet home. The young man opened the door and felt the chill of the place. I have to clean everything, go to the store, and see about getting utilities. I wonder if 200,000 yen is enough to live on, but that's what uncle has budgeted for me. I'll ask for more if it is needed. If your uncle thinks you can, then you can. I may not know much about this new world, but if he is confident, then so am I. The green gem talked from his left hand. He looked to his left hand and smiled. Thank you, my friend. I guessed I needed a little confidence boost. Think nothing of it, you're my partner. And I haven't trained you this far just to see you fall. The voice of the dragon had a caring tone to it. Issei shook his head, still smiling. Time to get to work. He cleaned the house and went through old boxes, stumbling over old memories. He found an old family photo and just held it. The tears started to fall as it rained outside. Dry your eyes, child, you avenged them. The low rumbling voice was gentle. But they're still dead and I miss them so much. They would want you to get past this, trust me on this. If the dragon could physically be there, he would have had a hand on the young man's shoulder. I'll try. She looked out her window as was her custom. It was the start of the school year and already everything was starting to have a negative tone to it. There is a sacred gear here and a powerful one at that, but who could have it? She had a worried look on her face as she thought about it. She twirled her red hair as the door opened and closed. Imajima Akeno entered with her long flowing black hair and dressed in the female Kuo Academy uniform. Rias. She smiled as she came forward. Yes, Akeno, do you have news on the sacred gear? Ria's Gremory looked at her queen still with worry in her eyes. No information as yet, but sometimes no news is good news. She smiled as she also looked out the window. True, but then why do I get the sick feeling in my stomach now? I'll be showering now. Ria started to take off her clothes and she stepped into the shower. Keep looking, try the freshmen and the transfers, and please go easy on them. I know how you like to tease them. Ria's had a small smile on her face. I have no idea what you mean. It's not my fault. The male stumbled over himself to try to attain the impossible. Akeno had an impish look on her face. As the water cascaded down over the womanly figure, Ria's just let the stress of the beginning of the school year melt away. As the door closed signaling that she was alone again, she just stood there. That time is coming and I still have so many pieces left. He will not be chained to that pig. She let the water relax her, taking all of her troubles away. Issei saw her again at the window and stared. She had beautiful red hair, the way she carried herself and the way she acted towards her friends was nothing but great. I guess I could introduce myself, but I have no idea how she'll take it. He looked down. I wonder why she looks so worried. That may have to do with our partner. I think she can sense me, which means she might either try to befriend us or never mind. The green jewel had a thoughtful tone. Or hurt us. Is that what you're trying to say? He looked to his left hand thoughtfully. I wasn't trying to scare you, but there are other supernaturals out there other than us. Some will try and seduce you, others will try to outright kill you, and some will try to befriend you. Personally would love to befriend more. But the way I've trained you, you can defend yourself. The green gem gave a soft glow. But why would I worry her? He looked to the sky and then back to the red-haired beauty. Because you carry a dragon and your dragons are very powerful creatures and feared by many. But they also have the tendency to draw powerful people to them. Look at the girl in the window, she is a very powerful devil, but she isn't evil. In fact, most of the devils here aren't evil at all. You can tell by their actions. She will make a great ally if you approach her right. The wisdom shone in the dragon's tone. So the supernaturals are like normal people and can be as diverse as normal people. He looked down thoughtfully. Yes. Who knows, maybe we will never meet our great rival in this lifetime, or maybe we will. The dragon was thoughtful. Time for practice. He picked up his shinai and headed home. Indeed, practice well. She saw her target. Kakabiel will be pleased with this sacred gear user out of the way. I was promised a promotion. She had no idea what was about to happen on Sunday. Hi, are you Haidu Issei? A timid looking girl with brown hair and eyes dressed in a different school uniform. Yes, he looked at her with a confused expression. Well, I've seen you pass by here a few times and I just wanted to know, would you like to go out with me on Sunday? She added a smile. I'm sure. He looked down still confused. Ooh, thank you. I can't wait to kill your sorry ass. She gushed. What's your name? He looked at her in a gentle manner. Amano Yuma. She smiled as she walked away. Partner, I'm getting a strange sense about that girl. The dragon had a thoughtful tone. Strange as in good or strange as in bad? He turned around and didn't notice the strange-looking girl behind him. I don't know, let's play this one by ear. The dragon seemed confused. I should be prepared just in case. He walked home deep in thought. I know that feeling, but from where? The dragon was deep in thought. Is it a bad feeling? He never noticed the strange girl following him. Even I'm uneasy about this feeling of power. I don't know. The dragon sounded really deep in thought. He didn't notice that the strange girl that was following his partner turned into a bat and flew off toward the school. I guess I'll think of something. He opened the gate to his empty house as another wave of depression hit. This is now your house. Fill it with good memories. The dragon tried to calm down his host. But it's so empty. Then I guess you need to fill it. The rumble was gentle. But what is she? Listen, child, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Now I'm tired. Eat and get to bed. We have an early date tomorrow. Alright. Issei did as he was told. Riaz listened to what her familiar had said. A fallen angel. And he agreed to go on a date with her and give him a flyer on the day of the date. If she kills him, I will revive him. She had a determined look on her face as the familiar accepted her orders. Bakeno, have your familiars keep an eye on Haidu Issei. The fallen angels have taken an interest in him. Riaz had a grave tone in her voice. So you think he is the one, but what sacred gear does he have? Bakeno looked puzzled. Even if he doesn't have one, a fallen angel has taken an interest in him. We need to protect those people in our territory. Riaz looked to her queen. I'll tell the others as well. She nodded and summoned her familiar. When orders were given and the familiar disappeared. That girl might try to kill him and he won't know why. A single tear went down her face. He stood by the fountain waiting and clearly nervous. I hope she's not going to hurt me. If she tries to defend herself, and remember, if she tries to kill you, kill her. The dragon gave the advice in a wise tone. A strange girl gave him a flyer with a strange circle with runes on it and said all of your dreams can come true. She nodded cutely and left. All of your dreams can come true. Well. Hey Issei. Yuma ran up to him smiling. Hi Yuma. He pocketed the flyer and rubbed the back of his neck. Where shall we go first? She took his arm and smiled. Well. How about over there? She almost dragged him. Oh okay. The arcade was a small one with 2 claw machines, a few fighting games, and 1 4-player game where you played as monsters. The two spent their time there before getting hungry. On the way out he spotted a black and red scrunchie. Hold on. Alright, how sweet. You're going to try to win my affections by that stupid claw game. She kept an interested look as he only spent 2 coins. The trick is to know which one is attainable, most of this other flashy stuff isn't. I'm aiming for the scrunchie, just because it's in the corner doesn't mean anything. She watched and was partially surprised as the claw picked up the hair holder and dropped it in the bin. I spent a lot of money getting those skills, but uncle wasn't too pleased. He then seemed to calm down. But still, it's impressive now to feed me. She gave him an impatient look. Okay, he chuckled and escorted her to a restaurant. The menu was small, but it was an East meets West venue, hamburgers on the menu right next to egg rolls. The waitress looked a bit odd, but she still came up with a smile. She was dressed in the standard uniform. The only thing out of place was the black eyeliner and lipstick that clashed with the white and red uniform. Her gaze lingered on Issei before taking down their orders. I'll have the chicken fried rice with the shrimp tempura soup though. Yuma ordered. Burger special number 2 please. He gave a respectful nod to the waitress. Of course your meals will be out shortly. She walked away, but from the counter seemed to stare at him. So you mentioned an uncle. I don't want to talk about family. Let's find something else to talk about. He closed the subject before it could even be opened. That's a definite nerve. What happened to make him want to avoid talking about something as common as family? Not that I would have told the truth. Anyway, I hear that you live alone. Are your parents? That's the same as talking about family. He just stated as he clammed up. The waitress brought over their food but noticed his dark look. Here you go sir, and here is your total. Enjoy your meal. She just kept an eye on him from the counter. As the meal was finished silently, Yuma just looked at him. Family is a very sore subject with him. Why does he want to stay away from it at all cost? He got up and paid the bill, but there was a new girl working the counter. Their waitress had gone off shift. She looked like she had had fun. Can this snoozefest be over yet? I guess it's time since we are in the park. She turned around and the smile on her face wasn't a good one. Hey Issei, would you die for me? She looked intently at him. So I apologize for what might have to happen. He looked at her sadly. Really? Well, I guess for a human it was a good date, but you were, so what did you say? She looked at him surprised. He got into a ready stance, pulling a collapsible baton from his pants leg. I don't want to hurt you, but if you leave, this date didn't happen. Oh, you have to be Jakingi, I'm way out of your league. She transformed. She matured, her hair and eye color changed to black, and black feathered wings appeared on her back. When Issei didn't look shocked or surprised, that worried her. "I see you leave me no choice," he said sadly. Boosted gear. The red gauntlet appeared on his hand with a green gem. Boost. "Oh, it's just twice critical, so I guess you're a nobody," she laughed. Boost. "It's more than that." Boost. "Reality Hotel, what do you know about it?" She looked over at him bored. Boost. "Transfer. I know I can defend myself." He stayed in the ready position, the baton glowed with crimson energy. "Oh well, time to die." She made her spear of light and threw it at him. Then a thing happened that wasn't normal, he parried it away like it was nothing. "I really am sorry for what I have to do to you, and I really don't want to take your life. If you force me to, I will." He had a serious tone in his voice. "You, nobody, take my life, what a joke." She created 2 light spears and threw them at him. He parried both of them away and was suddenly in front of her. Parry this, then she formed a light spear that gutted him as he struck her. The baton caved in her skull and she died instantly. He fell to the ground trying to cover the gaping hole in his stomach. I never got to introduce myself to the beautiful red hair. As his world was going black, the red-haired beauty appeared before him. "You summoned me, how can I help?" She looked at him as she sat down on the ground. He started to speak. "Shit will be alright." She looked down at him with caring conviction. "I, Ria's Gremory, of the House of Gremory, do hereby reincarnate Haidu Issei into a devil." As the words were spoken, the wound healed up and he glowed an ominous red. She took out 8 pawn pieces and inserted them into his body. "Rise and live for me, Haidu Issei." She smiled at him. When he didn't stand up, she looked closely. He was asleep and snoring peacefully. She chuckled and teleported them to his house. Once there, she decided to sleep with him as it tired her out, from which she did. She undressed herself after placing him in his bed and got in with him. She fell into deep sleep and clung to her new pawn. He awoke to light snoring that he knew wasn't his. Where am I? He remembered the date. He remembered his date changing into a beautiful death-dealing dark angel. He remembered her caved-in skull and getting speared in the gut, and he remembered dying. "So am I still alive?" "I'm sorry partner, you died, but you took out that fallen angel." The faintly glowing green on his left hand sounded remorseful. "Is that what she was?" "Yes, he didn't know until you saw the light spears. But there is some good news, you've been reborn." "Good morning, Issei." The voice right behind him sounded sleepy, and she clung closer to him, crushing her breasts against his back and her leg wrapped around his. What am I?" he asked her. He would recognize that hair color anywhere. "I brought you back as one of my kind." She had a waver in her voice. "And what kind is that?" He turned around and saw the sorrowful look in her eyes. "The devil." "Then I must thank you and I owe you a great debt." He looked in her surprised eyes. "I must go, your parents." She noticed his sorrowful look when she mentioned his parents. "They're dead." She just held him. With Yuma mentioning his family over and over again, and now with her mentioning them, the wall just broke. "You're in my family now, and I will never abandon you," she promised. He started crying and holding her like she was a lifeline. Addis looked and saw the new boy in the kendo club walking next to a third-year student by the name of Ria's Gremory. The way those two walked, and seeing that it was the first time that Ria's was walking with him, seemed to trouble her. But now she was on the lookout for the perverted duo. If they peek again, he will kill them. But I will find out her intentions for him. "Hey Issei, I won't be able to make it to practice today." Issei looked at her and scratched the back of his head. "Okay, I'll let the coach know." "Ms. Gremory, can I talk to you?" She looked at the red-haired beauty. "Sure." She waved at Issei as he entered the gate. "I want to know your intentions for Issei. He is the first male in my club, and the rest see him as a little brother." Caddis looked at Rias. "He has a bigger family than even he realizes." She smiled at Caddis. "I promise not to hurt him. He's been hurt enough." She remembered him crying. "That sets me at ease if he does get hurt." Caddis smiled at her. "I understand." Ria smiled back as she knew that the other girl was just being protective. "I bet you don't even see how you affect others, Issei." He looked out the window and just stared at the sky. "I wonder what Rias is doing now." He felt a tug on his sleeve. Kiryu was looking at him intently. "Huh?" He had a dumb expression on his face. "You weren't listening. Were you?" He asked if you have a girlfriend. She looked at him as he noticed the other females in the class listening intently. No." He looked down and started to doodle. "Well, talk is that you were seen with none other than the Ria's Gremorian. It looked like you two were close." She gave a wink as he blushed. There's nothing going on between us." He heard a commotion coming from the door of the classroom, and he saw a short girl with white hair and a black cat hair clip walk in. "Rias wants to see you after school in the old school building." Taoju Kaneko just had a blasé look on her face. "Alright, he'll be there." He nodded to her and got up. "And where are you going?" Kiryu tried to block his path. "I have martial arts practice." He started to leave, but when Kiryu tried to intervene again, she was stopped by Kaneko. The perverted duo just snapped a picture of your underwear. Kaneko pointed to the pair that had a camera. As soon as they heard that, they ran for the door with Kiryu and the rest of the girls minus Kaneko. Thanks, he looked at the small girl with gratitude. And you will have a third club activity. Welcome to the occult research club. Rias will tell you the rest. Kaneko turned to leave. Oh, thanks for the save. He looked away and she noticed his slight blush. It's no problem. She left him to his thoughts. Well, partner, looks like you just met a member of your new family. The faint glow on his left hand had started. I hope she is as nice as she seems to be. He left for his martial arts class. Walking to the dojo helped clear his head, the other students bustling around him. Since he was deep in thought, he didn't notice the waitress from the other day, but without the makeup. She was tall with green framed glasses and amber eyes. The long black hair flowed down to her knees. He was taken by the Gremory house, and Sona-sama had such high hopes she followed him to the dojo and went into the girls' locker room. And now to train him too. She changed into the guy and left, waiting for the others to arrive. Murayama took the hit and grunted. He's gotten better. Issei made it sound like he was going to punch, instead he did a cartwheel kick that caught her off guard. The teacher held up his hand to signal the end of the match. Nice one, Issei-kun. Caddis nodded as he helped up his opponent. I watched an MMA show last night. He started, but the teacher stopped him. Though it is good to find wisdom in other things, the fish cannot breathe air and shouldn't try to. He looked sagely at him. Hi sensei, he bowed to him as he walked out. The girl with the glasses kept an eye on him as he talked to Caddis and Murayama, listening intently. You still did good. Murayama nodded to him with a smile. If he has that good of improvisational skill, he'll be a great asset. The girl with the glasses looked at him one last time. I must meet Sona-sama to meet up with him officially. She walked to the girls' locker room. Why, you really think so? He looked surprised at her. Yes, sometimes, you need to catch your opponent off guard like the cartwheel kick you did. Caddis smiled and started to clean up. I shall try harder. He looked at them and smiled. Partner, you might want to hurry up, you have to meet Rias in the old school building in 10 minutes. There was an urgent tone in his voice. I have to get going. See you guys tomorrow morning for kendo practice. He looked at them. Sure, tomorrow. Caddis nodded and left the school dojo. Be sure to be early, the coach wants to show you something you missed. Murayama said as she left. Oh okay, he nodded as he left for the showers. She looked out the window, but this time seeing something that wasn't there. I hope everyone welcomes him. Akeno walked in and placed the tea on the coffee table. I guess he isn't here yet. She picked up a cup of tea and sipped the warm liquid. He had martial arts, so it's understandable why he is late. Rias headed to the shower. I wonder what he'd be like if Akeno looked thoughtful. Please welcome him warmly. Rias looked to her queen as she disrobed and stepped into the shower. Akeno smiled. The priestess of thunder looked like she went down memory lane. I wonder. The door opened and closed. The small white-haired girl with the black cat hair clip had a box of Pocky as she sat down on one of the couches. When Akeno looked to the window, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy was leaning against the sill. You came through the window again. Why don't you use the door, Kiba? It keeps me in shape. He gave a charming smile. Just be glad Kaneko and I were here, you know how Rias hates peeping. Akeno smiled as he looked outside. You know I don't do that kind of thing though. If the perverted duo ever tried it, they would be punished severely. He smiled at a thought. But, who would get to punish them? You know I love to do that. She sat down on the edge of the desk. Here he comes. Kaneko looked at the door. As he stepped into the old school building, he noticed he wasn't the only one. Sona Sitri and Tsubaki Shinra were both there. They both had black hair, the former was more serious, whereas the latter was more subdued. Hello Haidu-kun, we'll walk with you. Sona said in a no-nonsense tone. Why yes, he followed behind them. I am the student council president, Sona Sitri, and this is the vice president Tsubaki Shinra. Pleased to meet you. Sona held her gate to walk next to him. Be pleased to meet you. How did you know my name? He looked at her confused. I researched you, though I must say I am impressed that you took out a fallen angel while you were still human. That caused him to stop. Then you know what I am? He looked at them as if trying to gauge if they were enemies or allies. You are the same as us, we are from a different household, though. She looked at his confused expression. Rias didn't tell him anything yet. This should be amusing. Oh okay, he looked down to the floor. Wait till you meet Rias, she'll let you in on the secret sooner or later. After all, you're a part of her household now, so you will need to know who your enemies and allies are, the dragon advised. Oh okay, will the others be as nice as her? I don't know if my partner will let them make the first move, but the one girl from before should be there. Issei, we're here. Tsubaki motioned to the door. Alright, he opened the door for them and held it open for them. She heard the door open and 3 sets of legs enter. He must have walked with them, which means I don't need to introduce them, though I wonder what they talked about. I welcome you, Sona and Tsubaki. Go ahead and take a seat, Issei. She started to towel off in front of him and he looked away as sat on the couch. My, a bit bashful Akeno came up from behind him, putting his head between her ample bosom. He froze like a deer in the headlights and didn't make a move. It's nice to meet Yaoi mhh hyodo I say, he managed to get out as she tightened the hug. And I am Himejima Akeno, Ria's Grimory's queen, very pleased to meet you. Akeno had a very seductive tone in her voice. I am Yuto Kiba, her knight. Said a blonde-haired blue-eyed boy standing by the window. I am Taoju Kaneko, her rook. Said a very familiar white-haired girl with a black cat hairpin. What does that make me? He looked confused as Akeno let go of him and sat next to him. I used all 8 of my pawns on you, so that makes you my pawn. Riaz looked at him and smiled. So it's like using the promotion when I get to the back of the board, and how are the chess pieces used by devil kind? He looked at her questioningly. It's used for raiding games. For her to use all 8 of her pawns on you means she thinks you're powerful, Sona answered. I am Sona's queen. Tsubaki stated. Which would make Riaz my king. He looked at both Sona and Riaz. Yes, she is your master, but she treats her pieces like family, and in a way, they are her family. And speaking of family, our Sona started but was interrupted by Riaz. I will not talk to that pig. She stated. Well, he will be expecting you to make contact. Tsubaki looked to Riaz. When hell freezes over. Riaz looked hard at Sona. For will I bid you all aid you have other business to attend to, I have also found someone that is worthy of being my pawn. Sona got up and left, with Tsubaki trailing her. After you poached him for your peerage. And now onto the business of making pacts. Riaz got up in an angry fashion. Issei appeared in the house via teleportation circle. That was a weird sensation. He then saw the client. A young man that looked really scrawny. Where's Kaneko? He asked. She was with another client. He looked at the kid and scratched the back of his neck. Shesh was helping me become stronger. I have asthma, so I can't really do any sports. She has been teaching me boxing. Do you know boxing? He looked at the newly minted devil. Why yes, he also suggests that you watch some MMA matches. Let's see how much you know. He got into a ready stance and started to box with the young man. As he was teleported home, he was surprised to see Riaz there. What is she doing here? I came by to congratulate you on your first pact and I wanted to ask you something. Would you like it if I lived here as well? She looked at him as if she was reading his response. I wouldn't mind. In fact, he turned away to hide his face. Remember, I said I wouldn't abandon you, and I keep the promises that I make. She came up behind him and hugged him. You're not alone anymore and you don't have to shoulder your pain by yourself anymore. If you need to talk, I'm here. She just held him. Do want to tell you how my parents died. Flashback. Little Issei was in the chip aisle as his mother and father were picking up other items. Ooh, Dragon Ranger's X. He had stars in his eyes as he looked to his father, giving him the kicked puppy look that children give. Sigh, yes son, we'll get that as well. His father smiled as he was about to pick it up from little Issei. Alright, I want the money, jewelry, and wallets now. A masked man with a gun walked in and pointed it at Issei's mom. Oh, where the clerk opened the cash register. Not fast enough. The man shot the clerk in the head. Now wait a minute, the gunman shot Issei's father in the dot. Seeing his father go down in front of him caused him to cry and his mother to scream. Don't play the hero, heroes always die. Lisa, just let my son go. Wrong answer, ha 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 ha. The gunman shot at Issei and his short life started to flash before his eyes. His mother dove in front of him, taking the bullet in the head, killing her instantly. As her body was falling, there was a bright green glow and the 6-year-old was clad in red armor. At justice for what has happened to you, my young master. The voice was deep and throaty and urged him forward. Whoa, are you? You don't have much time, now hit him with all you've got, you only have 10 seconds. The voice gave him a time limit and used it. He ducked another bullet and smashed the gunman's kneecap, shattering it. The gunman went down clutching his knee. When Issei brought his foot down on the gunman's head, trying to knock him out, he misjudged the power and crushed the man's head. What have I done? He looked at the blood on the floor, it was so slick that he fell in it. Issei, stand on your own 2 legs, you'll be in. His father, with his vital fluids leaking out of him, was going into shock and would soon die. Issei, being only 6 and not knowing what to do, watched as his father died right in front of him. He started crying. Dry your eyes, Childium, drag the Red Dragon Emperor and will be your partner from here on out. Do not tell anyone about me, for there are people that will try to kill you. Because of me, will help you when I can, but if you don't want to be the victim, you need to be the predator. Now stand on your feet and leave this place. The faint green glow entranced the young boy. They all are right. Still sniffling, he left and bumped into a police officer. Hello, what happened? The officer shook his head. When Issei didn't respond and was still sniffling with a glassy look in his eyes, the officer picked up his radio. "This is H04, I need a unit to go to Kokoro, and on the 8, I have a child here covered in blood and sent to a med unit as well. H04, we copy and units are on the way." Flashback. 2 weeks later. Issei looked at the man that was going to take care of him from now on. He was a middle-aged man with glasses, balding and had a no-nonsense attitude. "Boy, come here." "Yes, Uncle Rakuro." The child listlessly followed instruction. "Your day will go as follows. Classes, then martial arts. You will have only one other choice for activities, so choose well." His uncle looked hard at him. "If you fail, you will be punished. If you are not proper to your elders, you will be punished. If you are not proper to women, you will be punished, do you understand?" He continued the hard look at the boy. "Yes, uncle." Classes start immediately. The uncle started to teach the child. Riaz looked at him with sad eyes, as if she had experienced it herself with him. Such a hard man, and yet Issei is still kind. She held him. "So you see, he didn't really care for me, he always left me alone and. Shim here now, he can't hurt you anymore, I will protect you, along with Akeno, Kiba, and Kaneko, you are safe with us." She buried her head into his back. "He may come around." He had fear in his voice. "Then I will tell him that you're in my care now." Riaz turned him around and looked him in the eyes. Think he was getting too emotional when she just forehead. "Now, take a bath and I will have dinner ready." She smiled at him and let him go and did as he was ordered. She started cooking for just the two of them with a smile on her face. "We will be the family he never had, and if that man tries to hurt him, I will let Ani-san teach him a lesson. You'll have to ask Ani-sama to buy this land. I have to cut all ties to that uncle of his." Bakuro looked down at a now 8-year-old Issei and brought the cane down once more. A useless excuse for a man. "Take your punishment without crying." And he brought the cane down again. "I am sorry." Young Issei was trying to hold back the tears. "Then prove it and take responsibility." He brought the cane down one last time. "IW will try harder." "No, you will do better. I never saw in that cow what my brother saw." Rakuro turned and left the bleeding boy on the ground. Ever so slowly he started to bandage himself while sniffling. Issei cried out in his sleep and Riaz just held him. "I wonder what he's dreaming about." She absent-mindedly started to trace the scars on his back as she rubbed circles on his back. There," she whispered in his ear while holding him. A tear came from his eye as he rolled over and hugged her back. She smiled at this and fell back asleep. Issei awoke to find himself tangled in sweat-soaked sheets and a very Riaz. The last part of his dream he did want to let go of as he slowly got up and started to get ready for the day. Riaz awoke to the smell of something good. Does he know how to cook? She got up and did her morning ritual of bathing and dressing. When she walked downstairs she saw that breakfast was made for both of them as well as bentos. "My, the bentos you had for lunch you made, and here I thought you got them from admirers," she smiled as he blushed. "My uncle made sure that I could survive by myself if I needed to." He looked away as he started eating. "Well, it looks like I'll have to beat you to the punch for now on, and don't worry about dinner, I'll make that." She smiled as she ate the food. "This is so good. What chef did he learn from? This is even better than the cook for my Ani-sama." The look on her face was priceless. "I have to go to kendo practice early due to what I missed." He started to get up. "I have to be there early as well. The student council has an early meeting." She made the excuse to walk with him to school. Alright. He walked to school carrying his satchel and his shinai on his back and Riaz attached to his arm. "Oh, isn't this cute, so he does have a girlfriend." Kiryu gushed as she saw the two. But issues started but was interrupted by Riaz. "And we've started living together." She gave a wink to Kiryu. "Some girls will be heartbroken. Be sure to use protection, Issei-kun." Kiryu ran off as he sweated. Why he was having trouble processing the information. "I promised I'd protect you, this means your heart as well." She smiled as she started to lead him to his kendo practice. "I'm no one special." He looked confused. "Oh, Issei-kun, you have no idea how special you are." She let go of his arm so that he could enter the boys' locker room. "I'll see you after school." He waved as he entered. The sensei was in the ready position and just waited. Issei was the first to attack, which was a mistake. The sensei brought down the shinai and struck his hand, causing him to release his shinai. "Remember, the sword is an extension of yourself, you need to imagine where you want to put that tip." The sensei pointed to the tip of the shinai. "Hi, sensei." He bowed. "Now that the others are arriving, pick your sparring partner." The sensei instructed. "Hi, sensei." He chose Caddis as she readied herself. After knocking the shinai from her grip she smiled. "You're a fast learner, Issei-kun." She then went on the offensive and he defended well. When she went to strike his hand he blocked with his shinai. "Once you know how a move works, you can deduce a logical defense." The sensei nodded at his wisdom. You are right, Issei-kun, but sometimes the logical course of action is to be illogical. The sensei looked at the rest of the club. After the sparring session he led the class in a cool-down kata. We will be going against Kagem High for a month. That's all the sensei had to say. As the club bowed and hit the showers, Tsubaki looked at Issei and nodded. If he trains right, he could give more than just Kagem High a tough time. Murayama just looked at him as well. Family day is coming up, I wonder who will come for him. He dreaded this moment. He sighed and opened the door and immediately saw a smiling Kiryu. What is she spread? I don't know, partner, but Rias does have a point. If you're off the market, so to speak, no more fallen angels can try to trick you as well as anyone else for that matter. The dragon had a thoughtful tone in his voice. I know I want that someday, but the question is with who? The way Rias is acting, she seems to want the person of his thoughts came into his view. Issei-chan, I'll be sure to have dinner ready when you get home. Rias walked by and winked at him as he blushed. Well, seems the rumors are true, Kiryu smiled wider. Oh, I wanted to be his girlfriend. One of the girls in his class looked down sadly. How come that pipsqueak gets to have a girlfriend and we are still virgins? Motohama exclaimed. We have to kick his ass. Mitsuda looked at Issei angrily. Now, boys, he just happens to have something. You guys don't make those two things. Her eyes flashed to Issei's crotch. No way. Mitsuda was in shock. I guess she has a one-size scooter. Motohama looked thoughtful. Hey. He looked at her as if finally realizing what she was saying. Remember, it's not how big it is, it's how you use it. Mitsuda had a sagely air about him. Keep on telling yourself that. Kiryu had a wistful look in her eyes. Issei closed the door and decided to skip class. Rias had an impish smile on her face while she was in class. That was a tad bit more fun than I should have had. She felt a tug on her sleeve and looked at Akeno. Looks like you had fun. She looked at her. Well, I'm doing what I need to do to protect him. Rias blushed a bit. Mind if I can get in on the action? Akeno looked serious. Why? I remember him from when I played with him at the shrine. He accidentally saw something he shouldn't have. She looked down in sadness. We shouldn't have been in the woods. What happened? Rias looked at her queen. We were playing in the woods, it's the only thing that saved our lives, but he witnessed a fallen dying, and I knew he shouldn't keep that memory. As long as he can love us both, he don't see why not. Rias nodded to her. Wait till he experiences this. Akeno smiled and looked forward again. Issei walked toward a park and saw something truly remarkable. It was a blonde-haired girl that had healed a little boy that had scraped his knee. I wonder if she is lost. Oh, he was wondering if you knew where the church was in this town. She looked at him and smiled a kind smile. Why, he'll take you. He picked up her suitcase. So what's your name? Hi, do Issei. I'm Asia Argento, pleased to meet you. Can you heal anyone? He looked at her as they continued walking. Why, yes, it's why I'm here actually. Are you busy tomorrow? No. I have a free day tomorrow. I'd like to spend it with you if you don't mind. He looked on the hill and started to get a bad feeling. It felt like razor blades going up and down his back. She warned you about going near the church. It might be a good idea to leave her here. He felt the need to get away as fast as possible. That sounds good, but why? Asked the fallen nun. Everyone needs friends, he said, noticing the pain hidden in her eyes. How? It's the way you acted with a little boy you wanted him to like. The razor blade feeling doubled. Then you're offering to be my friend. Partner? Yes, let's meet at the park where I met you today. He felt a glacier go down his spine. Now that we are Issei can make it from here, I'll see you tomorrow. She gave a genuine smile as she took her suitcase from him and started up the hill. The man in an overcoat and a fedora just watched from afar. Even though he is a devil, he helped us out by escorting her partially there, and with the death of Rainer, who will get her sacred gear. I never agreed to doing this to an innocent, but with times as they are, you must break a few eggs to make an omelet. Let's see if he can save her. When the ice-cold feeling left him, he trusted his other senses and felt like he was being followed. Just show yourself. You know, it's not every day a devil escorts a nun to the enemy's gate. It's why I've chosen to not kill you where you stand. It was originally my job to escort her, so I will give you this piece of information. On Monday a ritual will take place where we will rip the sacred gear she has right out of here. If you want to save her, then come and take her back if you can. Said a man in a fedora and overcoat. What's your name? Issei looked at him. If you must know, it's Don Isiki, pray I never see you again. He turned and left. I feel the same. Issei turned and walked back to the school. He wasn't going to skip martial arts. Hadis had Issei in a head hold. Come on, her arm cramped at the wrong moment. When he felt this, he slipped out of the hold like an eel, accidentally hitting the back of her knee and causing her to fall. She ended up landing on him. Even though it was an accident, Haidu-kun has won the match. Joints can either be our greatest ally or our greatest enemy. The sensei looked at the combatants. "Hi sensei." The class bowed their heads as he left the dojo. "You have improved." Murayama's looks and noticed how he helped up Caddis. "Why you think?" He looked at Murayama. "Yes, he can think of ways it can also be used in kendo." She looked away. "As well as other things." "Oh well," he scratched the back of his head. "Time to shower, Murichan." Caddis pulled the girl along as he headed to the male showers. "I wonder if we can save her." "Partner, that's up to you. Either way I'll back you up." The dragon felt some confidence from his master. "She is so innocent, why does this have to happen to her?" He punched the wall, slightly cracking the tile. "It's like asking why bad things happen to good people. Remember what I had said when I first awakened." Yes, he needed to become a predator instead of a victim. He'll save her tomorrow. What he didn't know was that a certain white-haired female with a black cat hair clip had seen how strong he was. Sostrink wonder. As he showered he felt the rage wash away with the water. I bet the same people that praised her were the same ones that condemned her. As he washed himself, he didn't notice that his onlooker was ogling him. She looked as the water cascaded down his muscles and frame. "I wonder what he would see in me." Riaz watched as Issei entered the room. He may not have a memory of Akeno, but it will still be a treat for him. He had a withdrawn expression set in his face. "What's troubling you, Issei-chan?" She looked over to him in a worried fashion. He sat down on the couch, still with a troubled look. "Issei, we are here to help." She sat by him and patiently waited for him to speak. What happens to sacred gear out of the user?" He looked at her, expecting the worst. Why the question? Now she was definitely worried. "There's this girl I met yesterday. She has the ability to heal, and the fallen angels will take it from her by force." He looked down grimly. "Is she a nun?" She looked at him while feeling how tense he was. "Hi. Then we can't. Can you reincarnate someone while they're alive?" He looked pleadingly in her eyes. "No, I'm sorry, they need to die first." She noticed a tear go down his face. I'll do what I can." He promised. Riaz looked at him and smiled. The others started to enter the room and noticed how close the pair was. Akeno snuck up behind him and put his head in between her breasts. Well, looks like I need to cheer you up." She had a seductive tone in her voice. Hello Akeno." He froze again. "Looks like we need to teach him something about love." She looked at Riaz as Riaz smiled. "What an excellent idea, Kaneko. Would you come here please?" Riaz motioned for the small girl to get on his other side. When she did, she copied what Riaz was doing. "And how should we do that, Riaz?" Akeno moved forward. "How about you and Kaneko moving in with Issei-chan and me? I'm already living there as it is, and besides, someone needs to make a good bento for him." Riaz snuggled closer, placing his arm in between her breasts. He started to blush heavily. "Lucky dog, have fun, Issei-kun." Kiba winked at him. A completely bald man was standing outside the Haidu house. He looked around the yard and saw that it was well kept. No emotion was on his face as he entered the gate. Before he even opened the door was opening. "Who are you?" He looked at her through his glasses to the red-haired girl that stood before him. "I am Riaz Gremory, Issei-chan's girlfriend." She looked at the man in confusion. "You will leave now?" He does not need a cow right now. He made it to enter the home, but was stopped by the irate red-haired demon. "No. You will leave. We have no need for your money as I have already bought the land. Issei is a strong man, no thanks to you. He is kind and considerate, and he will never be like you." She looked hard at him. "Really?" He tried to strike her, but found his path blocked. It was by a short girl with white hair. "Take out the trash, Konakin. Be sure my brother sees him." Riaz turned around and re-entered the house as a barrier was erected so no one could hear the screams. The transportation circle later, Kaneko entered the house as the barrier fell. "I can see why you wanted to buy the land." Riaz that was a detestable man. Kaneko didn't have a mark on her, but her clothes were torn. "That changed. Issei-chan will be home soon." Riaz smiled as she was finishing cooking. "Should we tell him about his uncle?" Kaneko looked at her. "No, let's not volunteer the information. If he asks, then we tell him." Riaz started to take off the apron. "Hi Riaz-sama." Sir Zetches looked at the person before him. He had been beaten to an inch of his life and sent here. Riaz, does this man deserve punishment? Yes, he smiled evilly. "Welcome to hell." "Really?" Rakuro tried to stand up and failed. "You know anyone that tries to hit my sister has to deal with me." He let out the killing intent as he looked at the human with dead eyes. Sir Zetches took out a scourge and a red circle appeared beneath the victim. "For what you have done to someone that my sister loves dearly, and for what you have tried to do to my sister, 4,899,569 lash sand in a place where time has no meaning." He let loose with the first lash. Asia looked around the park but didn't see him yet. As she was about to go, he came running up. "SORME alarm." She went up to him and hugged him. "Do thought you weren't going to show, shall we get going?" She smiled cutely at him. "I thought I was going to be alone again." Sure, he scratched the back of his head. I decided to leave the church. She looked down as if in shame. Then you can stay with me. He made the offer. Really? She looked at him in awe. Do you know what it's like to be alone? She then saw a piece of herself in his eyes. Do you have any family? She watched his expression drop. No, his tone was dead. I'm sorry. She took his hand and showed it to a small manga store. It's Occam over it. She could tell he was lying, the hurt in his eyes was there. Well, since you offered me your home, I'll be your family. The look in his eyes was sharp, like he was remembering something that someone else had told him. She smiled at him and he couldn't look away. As they walked around the shopping district, he felt uneasy, as if they were being watched. And with what he knew about the new world that he was in, you needed eyes on the back of your head. When they got to the park, it was almost dark. He finally spotted the man in the trees. You can come down now, Donoseki. No, it's you. Issei looked to where the man was hiding. You found me out. You'll have to take the girl back even if I have to go through you to do so. He popped his wings and made ready for a fight. I'm going to save her. She is innocent and shouldn't have been mixed up with you guys in the first place. She looked at him as if he knew something she didn't. She who can heal devilsit should only be used on those that give punishment to devils. He created a forked spear of light and threw it only to have it bounce off red scale mail. Boost. When the spear of light fizzled, did Donoseki see his true adversary. Ria started to get a very ill feeling as she was cleaning the dishes. Are you alright? Akeno looked over worried. Where is Issei-chan? She looked over to her queen. He went out a while ago. She looked at how frantic Rias was starting to act. We need to find him. She got her outside clothes on as well as Akeno. Kaneko, if he comes home while we're away, make sure he doesn't leave. Hi. Issei was breathing heavily, his lungs were burning, and his right arm was cramping. Just as he was about to launch an attack, his power was starting to fizzle. Donoseki, seeing this as the opportunity to strike, did so. He hefted a diminished spear of light and threw it. Nuo. The spear of light stabbed Asia right in the, killing her instantly. Looks like I'll get an ass chewing for this. He tried to fly, but a bolt of lightning killed him where he stood. Looks like we got here just in time, but that lightning should have just stunned him. Akeno looked to Issei with newfound respect. Please bring her back. Issei looked to Rias with need. This has never been done before, so if it doesn't work out, I'm sorry. She looked at his face with apprehension as she summoned a lot of power. I, Rias Gremory, of the House of Gremory, do hereby reincarnate Asia Argento into a devil. The power whipped the air around like a small tornado, as if a force of wills was being waged. When the wound slowly healed and her eyes started to open, did Rias push a bishop piece into her dot. Rise and live for me, Asia. She looked to where Issei was and smiled. For him to have made a friend this fast meant that this girl wasn't a love rival. She started to wonder why the sky was moving. When Issei saw Rias fainting, he stumbled and used his body to cushion hers. Her head struck the middle of his back, which lanced pain up and down his spine. When Akeno landed, she helped up the wounded pawn. However, so the gentleman, she held on for a tad bit before helping up the new bishop. How am I alive? Felt Asia had a haunted look on her face. Rias Reincarnated saved you. There were tears in Issei's eyes as he looked at the newly minted devil. And then he passed out with him holding Rias. I guess we needed to go home another way. Akeno did a transportation circle and went home with all of them. Addis looked and Issei still hadn't shown up yet for kendo practice. If he doesn't show up, sensei will have to have him come early. Again, Murayama also looked like she was looking for him. Line up and pick an opponent. The sensei instructed. Murayama, you're with me. The sensei stood opposite of her. Ouch time. The transportation circle with the House of Citri appeared and two people stood there. None other than Sona Citri and Tsubaki Shinra. We are not exactly morning people. Sona looked like she had matched luggage under her eyes. We need a favor today. Haidu Issei won't be coming to school. He is drained of energy and is currently resting. Second, please have Asia Argento enrolled and placed in his class. Akeno looked at them with a smile on her face. And where is your king? Sona did not look amused. Regaining her energy as well, it took a lot out of her to reincarnate her new bishop. Akeno rested her hands on her kimono. Really? This shocked Sona and Tsubaki. A simple reincarnation shouldn't have taken that much out of here. Was this girl that powerful? Then we shall work on it. Tsubaki looked down and smiled. Yes, we will. Sona looked at Tsubaki with a look that promised there was going to be a talk about this. We thank you, Sona-sama. Akeno bowed and left them in the living room. We will talk about this over the breakfast you're making, right, Tsubaki? Sona did the transportation circle, and both of them were gone. Issei was starting to wake up and he felt an arm around him. When he opened his eyes, he saw red hair framing a beautiful face. She clung to him more and started to cry. He just held her. I'm right here, safe and sound, he whispered in her ear. She calmed down as he said it, but still clung to him. What am I? I think you love her and I think she loves you, but in what way, I can't say. The dragon seemed proud. You mean? You have found something special, fight for it. A dragon loses nothing to no one, becomes the predator to protect her. Will I lose my humanity? No, my young master, it is because of your kindness that you unwittingly wooed her. The dragon was almost gentle when saying this. Issei grumbled in her sleep, cuddling closer to him. He smiled at her and fell asleep. Riser looked at a void and grew irritated. Every time I try to see what my beloved Riaz is doing, all I get is this. This is an outrage. He looked around his home and sighed. She has always been so willfully, will need to break that will, but how? Ani-sama, what's on your mind? A blonde girl with blue eyes looked at the heir to Phoenix. Riser is not pleased. Riser will need to visit the ant farm. He looked highly irritated. Hi, would you like me to tag along? She looked at him. Riser doesn't see why not. He smiled at his sister Ravel Phoenix. I want to get a souvenir from Earth. She gushed. Riser will make it so. Ravel, he looked at her with caring eyes. If only Riaz would see me the way she does, it would make the marriage simpler. Riaz slowly awakened to see Issei's sleeping form holding her close. If it's with him he can get what I want, freedom to choose, but it seems like Issei started to grumble and shake in his slumber. Then knew she his forehead and then his lips. Issei started to wake to begin with. When it ended he looked at her. I promise to protect you, even your heart, if you will have me. She looked down and blushed. Become the predator to protect her, he heard her slowly, gently, pulling her closer, and she let him. Sir Zetches waved his finger, and the scourge whipped the human that had scars on his back. 4,568 oops, lost count, I need to start over. He looked like he was thoroughly enjoying himself when a woman with white hair entered in a maid outfit. Sir Zetches, Sam, I believe your sister is going to give away her purity to a lower-born devil. She looked down in respect to the man's rank. The pith of Grigory takes over. Punishing this worm. Looks like I need to go to Earth after all. You will accompany me, Grafia. He looked at her and smiled. I shall get. Grigory has a knack for this kind of thing. You think he actually enjoys it as well? She looked a little disturbed. Make the necessary preparations. He got up from his throne. She nodded and left to get the house sadist. She looked at him and smiled. This is why it has to be. Don't take my purity, but let your feelings show. Akeno walked in and grinned. Well, getting comfy, I see. She looked down at Issei. Who wanted to buy it the proper way? He looked up to Akeno. Well then, if I'm going to be a part of this, I would love to be third in line. She gave him a seductive wink. His eyes bulged at the thought. We devils can have more than one spouse, but it's only for the males. Riaz looked into his eyes lovingly. Which means you can marry Riaz, Kaneko, and me. Akeno got in the bed with him. BB, but he looked flustered. A transportation circle with the House of Gremory appeared in his room. Two people stood there, a man with red hair and a woman with white hair. Ani-sama Riaz had a look of shock on her face. Has this young man taken you yet? If so, I have no choice but to cancel your marriage to Risser. If he hasn't, then it is still on unless you defeat him. The man looked at Issei, then to Riaz. I wanted to do this properly. Issei looked at the man that was Riaz's brother. Then I take it you will champion her. He smiled a gentle smile. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Hi. Then we will have a rating game. Grafia, let Riser know about the rating game. Riaz, you have 2 weeks to prepare, seeing as you have a new bishop. Grafia nodded as he looked at Riaz. And if you win you can marry who you want. Grafia looked to Issei. He was angry, he was furious. How dare she? She can't do this. I'll make her pay for this. Riser pounded the table, scaring his little sister. Ani-sama, she looked at him with fear. That you Balloonathier is another rating game. And we will win this one. He looked hard at his sister. Why yes, Ani-sama, she ran out of the room. Why is Riaz so important to him? Riser swears that he will have Riaz's Gremory. She doesn't even want him when so many others want her. Ravel was looking for Riser's queen. She passed an ominous looking door by her brother's room. Sir Zetches sat in his throne with his hands clasped in front of him. Wani-chan, I know you can defeat a prick like Riser, but you have one thing he does not have. You have the unconditional love of your peerage. You didn't have to break them, and that will gain you victory. I approve of your choice of a husband, though let's see him mess up Riser's face. He chuckled darkly. Your parents made the pact with that condition set in place, and if she wins, she will be happy. Grafia looked to her king. I never liked that prick anyway, he's never been worthy of her. He deadpanned. Does she have a chance with the pieces she has? 1 rook, 1 bishop, 1 knight, 1 queen, and 1 pawn. He looked down thoughtfully. It's enough to play, but is it enough to win? She looked over at him worried. Yes, and win she shall since I put in an equalizer. He smiled, and she had a curious look on her face. She looked at her peerage and smiled. This is for all of us, but most of all for me and him. She looked at Issei. Keep the magic flowing, Issei-chan, imagine what you want to do with it and let it happen. Argento instructed. Boost. The small red sphere grew double its size. And he still held it. Boost. The red sphere grew double its size and black marks were swirling around the red. And he held it. Boost. He was sweating as he now held the larger ball of energy with purple flecks. Boost. He went to a knee as bright red, crimson, black and purple colors waged war as he held the bomb. Explosion. He threw the ball of energy and watched it disintegrate a mountain. Jaws dropped from his peerage as they watched him drop, sweating from the strain of holding all that energy. Riaz ran to him and placed his head in her lap as Asia came and healed him. That was amazing. Argento wondered what would happen if he decided to transfer power to her, seeing as she was the Princess of Thunder. When Asia is done healing you, try transferring power to one of us. Argento looked at him and smiled. I agree, let's see if we can do this. Riaz looked to her queen with amusement. Looked excited, the other looked confused. Why the academy? Sona Citri, of the House of Citri, shall be overseeing this rating game. Sona looked through the magical viewers. Tsubaki Shinra, Sona Citri's queen, also from the House of Citri, shall be announcing this rating game. She sat behind a desk that had a microphone. The main school building is Riser's territory, the old school building is Ria's territory. Tsubaki announced. Are all parties ready? Riser nodded. Riaz nodded. The match has begun. Tsubaki said through the mic. Who do you think will win this one? Sona looked at her queen. Riaz. I know she will win. Tsubaki looked seriously at the magical map of the school. Why do you think that? Sona looked at the map as well. She has him. Tiba, Issei and Kaneko ran through the woods. Argento looked at where they were running and smiled. Time for traps. I only have a short amount of time before this power leaves me. She made 3 illusionary old school buildings and set some very deadly traps as well as harmless ones. I sensed them up ahead. Let's give our queen some more time. Kiba sped toward the enemy. Boost. Issei was still right next to Kaneko. Well, it's the first catch of the day. A woman with a big sword on her back and 5 ponytails on her head looked at the 3. Boost. Oh, it's only twice critical, nothing to worry about. A girl with blue hair and a red top giggled. Kiba used this time to speed past 2 of the girls, a blade in each hand, and he cut them down where they stood. Both of the girls were in maid outfits. Boost. 2 of Riser's pawns retired. The woman with a big sword drew it and charged. Boost. Issei put his hand on Kaneko's shoulder. Transfer. Kaneko glowed with red energy. As the sword struck the small girl, she grabbed and shattered the sword, landing a roundhouse kick on the swordswoman, sending her through the school building. 1 of Riser's knights retired. Issei charged the last 2 there, cartwheel kicked the blue-haired girl unconscious, and right hooked the other one dressed as a Vegas line dancing girl. Kiba struck from behind, taking her out completely. 2 of Riser's pawns retired. Riser looked at how long it took for them to take out 5 of his pieces. 5 minutes. In 5 minutes they took out 5 of my pieces. No matter, Ubaluna will take care of them. He looked at how well the game was going, and now he needed them in the gym. Shulan, lure them into the gym. Yes, Riser-sama. A Chinese girl in a blue outfit bowed on his magical screen. Ani-sama. If they were weak they shouldn't have been able to do that. Ravel looked and saw the anger on his features. If only I had been able to look in on here, he would break her. The way he said it sent chills down her spine. As the 3 moved toward the gym, a lady with a small smile was floating above them. She threw down a massive firebolt. Thinking she had won, she went down to see her good work. That tingled. A soft voice said as Kaneko walked out of the crater. That should have fried you. Let's see how tough you really are. She didn't see it coming. She started to wonder why 2 sword points were sticking out of her, destroying the navy blue dress that Riser had got for her. Riser's queen retired. They're not dead. Issei are teleported to a place where they can get treated. He answered Issei's unasked question. Let's head to the gym. Not so fast. A knightly-looking woman strode up and drew her sword. As this was done, Issei picked up a vial but dropped Ubaluna. What's this? He looked and saw the fear on the armored woman's face. The phoenix tear, she whispered. Issei then used it on himself. He felt revitalized, refreshed, and ready anew. Ravel looked shocked and she didn't know why, but she froze on the spot. He is so. Ravel, Riser wants you to stop him. Riser looked pissed. He used my family's trade secret, he shall burn. Haimahi, Isabella, come with me. As the 3 left the room that Riser was in, she looked down. Why is he fighting like that? On the view screen the gym exploded. 4 of Riser's pawns, 1 of Riser's rooks, retired. No. This is not how things are supposed to be going. Riser will deal with Riaz himself, cut off the head and the body dies. He covered his face and decided to go on the offensive himself. As she was walking she couldn't get his face out of her mind. The way he's fighting, it's like he's fighting for something. Mehi looked to the other bishop. How are we supposed to stop that pawn of hers? Huh? Ravel looked at her confused. We need a strategy. The way he is fighting, the girl in the kimono stopped. You don't know, acts like he's protecting his family. He is much more of a man. No man can beat Riser-sama. That pawn can't beat a king. Mihi sounded as if she really believed it. Sir Zetches looked proudly at what his sister was doing. Of course, with an even playing field, Riser will get what's coming to him. It's not like I bought some of their Phoenix's tears and gave them to Ria's team. Now he looked like he was innocent as Lord Phoenix looked on. I'd like to add something to this arrangement. If she wins, she can have one of his pieces. What do you say? Sir Zetches looked over to Lord Phoenix. I agree, if she wins she can have one of her choosing. Lord Phoenix looked amused at the thought. A deal's a deal. As they shook on it, they both smiled. He really needs to be humbled, and this is the best way for it. I know he lost on purpose just to get the engagement. Sir Zetches just watched the screen. Same here. He always wanted Rias to be his since he was a boy, but his elitism always kept them apart. Lord Phoenix just shook his head as he noticed his son's queen getting snuck up on. For a 5-man team they have a good strategy. The crimson-haired leader of the underworld had a thoughtful look on his face. If it wasn't for who we were, we wouldn't have seen that. Her knight is fast. Lord Phoenix had an approving look. It looks like she did what I thought she would do. Sir Zetches smiled. Indeed. And it's only this once. He needs to get spanked, and this is the way to do it. But as they say, you can't win them all. Harleman parried the swordsman's strike and blocked the fist of a little girl, but the throw of the red-gauntleted boy threw her far. I can't take much more of this. She slowly got up only to feel a blade in her back. Noob Lord Risseram sorry as she teleported out. The 2 bishops and the rook saw it. You bastard. Isabella ran toward the swordsman. Transfer. She looked, but it was too late. The Princess of Thunder gleefully smiled as she threw down an empowered lightning bolt, and the thunder shook the bishops to their core. The rook never had a chance. One of Riser's rooks, one of Riser's knights, retired. An explosion on the rooftop suddenly got all of their attention. When Issei Ravel looked on as the kings were fighting. Boost. We won't interfere. She looked at the group and then to Mihi. What are you doing? Mihi turned like she was going to fire a magic blast. Boost. Thanks to these ladies, the swordsman smiled and winked at them. My phoenix tears. They looked at themselves and everything was where it was supposed to be. Boost. How? Boost. I'm sorry, do forgive me for what I'm about to do. Transfer. He transferred all of his power into the Phoenix tear, then using the tear, in turn putting all that magical energy in one shot. Then he let loose a giant ball of destruction. Kiba was quick enough to grab Akeno and Rias. Riser didn't know what hit him. When he regenerated, he walked up to the group, raised a finger, and only a puff of smoke came out. He promptly fainted. Issei fell to his knees as the others ran to him. Imamoride tried to stand but fell. Rias caught him, and then Ravel finally saw why he fought so hard. Techmate, winner, Rias Gremory. Asia started to heal him, and she felt the energy drain off of him. Any more and you would have burned up. Destabilized. Did he use up too much of those things? Asia looked to Kiba. Yes, I thought he knew what he was doing. He will rest. Kaneko looked fondly at him. Akeno. Hi. She did a transportation circle to home. Sir Zetches was waiting for them at their home. How did he burn out so quickly? Good job, you won your first match, by the way. How did you do it? He looked at Issei's sleeping form curiously. We gave him all the Phoenix's tears. He feigned being an idiot when he picked up the spare from Riser's queen, but he used them all and powered us through it. Kiba looked to the head of the Gremory house. That was risky, he could have roasted from the inside out. Well, at least he has a good family now, and speaking of that, you get to choose one of his pieces to take. Sir Zetches smiled as this shocked Rias. Can we hold off on that? She looked pleadingly at her older brother. Sure, he looked at her caringly as she looked lovingly at Issei. He sure is a lucky dog, huh? Kiba smiled as he looked at how the demonic females fawned over Issei. You have no idea. Sir Zetches looked like he was innocent. No need to act innocent, we know it was you who got the Phoenix tears. Kiba had a smug look. I have no idea what you mean, all I sent was just a care package, even though I didn't pack it. Sir Zetches looked innocently around the room. Right, Kiba just shook his head at the act. And besides that, Riser needed a good ass kicking. It was either have her win or have him crash the engagement party. Kiba looked thoughtful. What a splendid idea. The ruler of the underworld looked like a kid with a gift. Something tells me I just made his life more interesting. Kiba smiled and left the older brother to his king. He was starting to wake up. Why does my head feel like it's been in a cement mixer? That's because you've been out for a week. He suggests that when someone offers you Phoenix's tears, don't do it. Can you promise me that, partner? I promise. He tried to move his arms and he couldn't. When he looked he saw black hair, red hair and white hair. He also noticed he was in a California king-sized bed. "Partner, if you move, you'll wake them all up." The dragon snickered. Yeah, laugh it up." Mother Akeno struggled in her sleep. "Shit's all okay, it will be all okay," he whispered in her ear. Issei Kaneko looked up at him sleepily, crawled and laid on his dot. "Oh boy. You have that right," the dragon laughed at his young master. "And now I have to pee." The dragon laughed even harder. Asia looked with joy as Issei walked down the stairs with the rest of the crew. Akeno on one arm, Rias on another arm, and Kaneko piggybacked. The spread laid out before them looked wonderful. It looked so good he started eating like it was his last meal. Oh, Issei-chan must be hungry. Akeno ate her food slowly. Well, he was out for a week. Kaneko looked up from her plate with a blasé expression. "He just needs to rest for now." Rias looked over to him and smiled. "Just wonderful." Surziches walked in smiling. "What is?" He looked up to the red-haired ruler of the underworld. "Why have you all been invited to a party in the underworld?" He smiled an innocent smile. "Well, seeing as how you have no parents, my parents want to meet you." He looked to Rias. "Is this an engagement party?" She looked at him knowingly. "I didn't say that." As per se, a sweat drop appeared on his brow. "They want me to get engaged to Issei-chan. What do you think?" She looked seriously over to him. "Am I trapping you if I say yes?" He looked just as serious. "If it's Yaoi can be happy," she honestly told him. "If it's you we all can be." Akeno looked at him lovingly. "That's sure." He blushed as he looked down. "Well, be sure you have a nice suit and Rias, you'll have to choose that piece tonight." He looked over his shoulder as he disappeared. "A suit?" He looked confused. "They might try to do the marriage ceremony as well, but sometimes it's just a get-to-know-you kind of thing." Kaneko deadpanned. "And what did he mean by choose that piece?" He looked to Rias. "We get to add another piece, from Riser's peerage to ours." She looked at him and started eating again. "Was that a part of the deal?" Akeno looked surprised. "It became a part of the deal. I think it was done mainly to take Riser down a peg or two." Rias looked thoughtful. "Are we getting someone that will hate us?" He looked over to Rias. "Unlikely, Riser broke all those women, so molding her for us is made easier." Kaneko spoke after she swallowed some food. "So then we can help them." He looked questioningly around. "If they want to be helped, Issei-chan want you to pick for me." Rias looked over to him. "Am I a good judge of character?" He looked confused. "Yes, Issei-chan." Akeno nodded. "Then I accept." Thanks for watching this video. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow the DEATHWISH911 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story, link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.